Victor, let's start on that front. First of all, Starcoms and what we're hearing around a deal involving Multilinks and MTS, is that having any impact on the share price at all?
Well, it's going to have, definitely, because, but the news is still just coming out, so the market hasn't digested it, even though there's been some talk around it. I think we are now beginning to just see the markets hear about that news officially. So we know that there should be some kind of impact because Starcoms has been a disappointment for investors somehow. Putting the CDMA companies together this way will have an impact that will be positive.
Right, and of course, we did see some heavy trades in Starcoms several weeks ago. So clearly, there are some, maybe this had something to do with that deal.
Exactly. Somebody already has some information or because of the way the deal is being put together. I think that's why that activity. But now that the news is been announced officially, you are going to see more activity in the next few weeks.
But I mean, if you are a speculator here, I mean, Starcoms is already so low, trading around its nominal value. Do you think this news warrants an investment into Starcoms at all, even if it's a speculative one?
Definitely, for people who are looking at taking a long position, because as you know, Starcoms already has a very large customer base. When you add that to Multilinks, which has been very efficient, Multilinks has been here longer and has been very efficient, and is a company that will bring a lot together. If you Capcom, putting MTS has not been that much of a player lately after the initial bump he had a few years ago. But putting these companies together, first you are going to find that the customer base is going to expand. Then the fact that they are using a similar technology, and most people actually believe that the CDMC technology is a very superior technology. It's just unfortunate that it didn't start early enough in these parts of the world. So I believe that given that trajectory, most of the investors who have a long-term perspective, particularly institutional investors, are going to take a very good look at this and see that this is a workable measure, and especially they are going to be investing $200 million more, $200 million more, and that's going to actually give them a boost in terms of their operations. I think they are going to give a run for the money for the MTNs and Airtels of this world, because right now we have a large customer base that can propel it. If I were speculating, I would speculate on Starcom stocks.
I can definitely understand why you will speculate on the deal, but I think I heard you say Multilinks has been efficient. I'm not sure many people agree with you.
Very efficient. Very efficient.
The fact that Telcom
they've been
had
very
to exit
efficient
that
in
investment.
The truth is that in terms of service to customers, in terms of they've been here longer. They've been very, very consistent in their delivery on service. So that is something that is going to reverberate with customers when they know that they are now getting to a larger pool with similar technologies. There should be some efficiencies that's going to come into that. Investors will take note of that. They are looking at, they have a higher market share. There's some efficiencies that will come from merging the three companies together. There's new investment. These are all good news for people to take a position.
Clearly, definitely, it sounds like positive news. And of course, the $200 million that will be invested is something that company can use. Okay, let's move on to the trading day and give us a sense of where we are at. Here, banking stocks are leading the way again.
Yes, as usual, banking stocks are leading the way. Of course, this is not surprising given that in the last 2 quarters, the banking results have been very good. And there are also other issues concerning the stability of banks, which has now been cleared. There's been a lot of positive news. However, there is a new perspective as to the kind of interest rates regime that we have, which has been very counterproductive. A lot of people have said that this is not growth friendly, because you can have risk-free rate treasuries trading at 15 and 16 and expect people to go into the capital market to buy stocks for a long term. I think everybody's pouring into the short end of the market. But the banks themselves are also benefiting from this. They're basically just taking all their deposits and investing in treasury bills at 16%. Why should they take any more risk? There's a criticism of that. And then, of course, the recent tightening of the cash reserve requirement has also meant that banks have raised their lending rates. This, again, is not supposed to be a good thing for the manufacturing sector. The manufacturing sector, they're just getting to be happy that there's some kind of stability coming to the electricity generation area and distribution. Now we are having these interest rates that are going to wipe off everything again. So that it is something that is pushing it, on both sides. However,
sorry,
right
Victor,
now,
you just made a point. You just made a point that I think is very interesting. You did say that there are now concerns around the impact of the higher interest rate environment on company performances. And now that we're pretty much through with all the results, at least for the second quarter, what is really going to get this market going over the next few weeks? I mean, the market has done pretty well so far, 12% for the year. What's the upside catalyst from here on?
Well, from here on, I don't think there'll be a few results in October. But other than that, we are going to be, there's a lot going on in terms of the government side, because they become concerned about what is happening in the capital markets. And there's been a positive news here and there. We are hoping that particularly issues that has to do with broker debts that is arising from the margin accounts. If that forbearance ever goes through, that will be a big boost. Because right now, what the market is suffering from more than anything else is liquidity.
Yeah.
The banks are not lending to the industry, and investors don't have confidence. So, and of course, with the high interest rates, everybody's investing in this fixed income market. These are all issues that's going to kind of stabilize the market. However, you must realize that the market has been down for so long. People are glad to see this, inching up, and it's not going to go away. People are more now thinking more of long term. People who are taking positions are looking at more long term. They know that no matter how you look at it, the market is going to come back some way or the other. So these are the little gains that we are getting. We expect that will continue.
And in terms of the psychology of traders, earlier we were speaking and you did mention the improved power supply across the country. What we're hearing now is that PHTN is supplying as much as almost 4,300 megawatts, which is a high by any standard. So give us a sense of how that impact, of course, when people feel the impact of that at home, they get a sense that things are getting better with respect to the real sector. Is that influencing trader psychology right now?
That is right. Apart from that, even the privatization process is going very smoothly so far. You are aware that a number of steps have been taken. And for the first time, we are seeing government really putting the building blocks in place. There's been a bulk trader that was an issue at a point whether the distribution companies will be able to pay for the electricity they take. The bulk trader has sorted that. We've seen the transmission given to a Canadian company that is well versed in this. And we've seen the very robust interest that was shown in the distribution companies. I believe that all these steps are in the right direction, and they're beginning to put a building block for us to really see improvement in energy in the country. But in the meantime, you're saying that we are beginning to see even the modest 4,200 that has been generated. Many average homes are beginning to see improvement in that. There's been less buying of generator and all that. So that is giving some kind of optimism. So brokers are optimistic about that. The only real drawback right now is the fear of insecurity. Right. That is something that is hanging on over everybody. But anyway, the way we look at it, you look at the whole world today, everybody has some kind of insecurity or the other. So we tend to discount that a bit. The investor sentiment and brokers looking at everything put together is that we are above average in all the areas.
I guess the bigger issue, of course, like you mentioned earlier, is the issue of liquidity and how the authorities are going to address that. But let's run this off with your stock picks. Which stocks do you like right now, given the way the market is today?
Well, right now, whether you like it or not, the banking stocks, they have some kind of up to go. For instance, I like First Bank. First Bank, for its size, for the fact that is sufficiently stabilized in its, if you look at the last 1 month, it has been adding, gradually to its share price. That means that more people, don't forget that First Bank is one of the largest stocks that are traded on a daily basis. The fact that it can be consistent over this period in gaining, bits and pieces means that there is a large interest in it. There are still other banking stocks that I like. The Antitrust Bank is always a favorite because of its very well-known governance issues and governance prowess. and the fact that he has a very good, now he's taking deposits very easily in, because almost anybody you run into is either having an account in Guaranteed Trust Bank or is going to have one.
All right, so you
those
like
are
the
things
banks,
that
clearly.
I like those two banks, yes.
Okay, thanks so much, Victor, for joining us.
Thank you
Victor
very much.
Ogiemwonyi joining us from the stock exchange, giving us perspective on what is going on there.